Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back again for the next gun wall gun review. Today we got my 1911 Carl Gustaf Swedish Mauser. This is what's known as a 9638, and I'll tell you about why that is here in just a little while. First of all, I got this gun as just a bolted action from my father, meaning it was just the rifle, the bolt, the trigger assembly with the mag, and that was it. It had no stock or wood on it whatsoever. I went through and I bought this sporter stock, which was plain chestnut or walnut. I believe it was walnut actually, and I will show some pictures of where I got that and actually the link to where I ordered that stock from Barnell's. I went through and I finished it out and shaped it a little bit to fit the action, because they are made for a regular 96 and you always got to go through and make it fit to your specific gun. I also went through and shaped the stock a little bit, giving it a little bit more pronounced pistol grip, thinned it up for my smaller hands, and just made the action fit in it a lot better. Now, in 1911, this gun was originally produced as a Model 96 Swedish Mauser, meaning that it had a long barrel on it. I believe it was 30 inches. But in the 30s, the Swedish military saw a general, what's the word I'm thinking about? A new kind of craze with militaries where they were carrying shorter rifles, carbine length rifles. And now this one here now has a 24-inch barrel, which by today's standard is still a long barrel. But in the 30s, Carl Gustaf, the Swedish military ordered Carl Gustaf to bring these rifles in to the factory and cut down the barrels, shorten them up. Now, they did this in the 30s to 40s, and they only did this to about 30 to 60,000 of the Model 96s, which makes them relatively rare. And you can usually identify them by the length of the barrel, the manufacturer date on the receiver, and the fact that it still has a straight bolt. After this limited cut down of these barrels that they did for that 20 to 60,000, they started producing actual Model 38s, M38s that were already pre-cut down, and those generally had a downturned charging lever on them. Other interesting things about these guns, with this gun specifically, is it had the sights taken off of it. I imagine at some point this rifle was imported into the U.S. as a sporter rifle. It had a stock similar to this, and it got broke, or for some whatever reason in its history they removed the stock from it. And I know this by the fact that the rear sights were removed, and the fact that it has these Williams peephole sights mounted on the rear of the receiver. These would not have been original. Originally, you would have had a kind of flip-up leaf style with a elevation, and I think they had windage as well. This Williams does have a elevation and windage as well, which is really nice. Now, some other cool things about this particular gun, when I got my hands on it, the barrel is pristine, the rifling is pristine. I don't believe that this was a service rifle. It might have been a guard's, or it may have been a never fired rifle at some point, due to the condition of the barrel. Interesting things, even though the bolt does look like it is stainless steel, it is not. I looked up, they said it was some type of chrome plated steel on them, and that was neat. Another interesting thing about this rifle is the way that the hammer is. It's a close-on cock for the locking of the firing pin. So it open. This fire is actually part of the firing pin assembly right here, and you close it. When you get to this point, it locks it open, and then you can fire, and that whole part goes in. Another thing, has a 3-position safety. This position to the left, fire, straight up, locks, keeps it from firing only, but the bolt can still be, well, let's see here, it goes this way, yeah, this way here, but the bolt can still be, oh yeah, that's right. So when it's cocked, the safety works as it does. It can be, that's fire, you can turn it up like this, but it can still be opened, and all the way over, locks the whole, everything. And then back to fire. It's a little clunky, but it was designed well over 100 years ago, so you know that's kind of understandable. Also, the takedown on these were real easy. You have this side lever here, pull that out. Now I have a little bit of trouble in it because I still got to mess with the stock a little bit, and it comes right out like so. And you don't have to hold it out to pop it back in, because the way the lever goes in, it has kind of a almost a ramp sear on it, and it can go right in without reopening that and locked. Now another cool thing about these that was kind of cutting edge, a lot of new firearms use this. When you take out the bolt, forward locking lugs on that, so it doesn't just lock in the rear like a lot of other rifles at the time. They had forward locking lugs, and of course most military rifles use that today. Now something interesting about these, you can actually kind of safe release these if you hold the trigger and hold this, but it is a powerful spring, just like that. This one here, I'm planning on using it for a kind of a brush gun. So I mounted a original 96 sight hood on it, which works really well with that peep sight. It allows you to, the peep sight kind of circles around the whole sight hood, and then you see that that blade. Now this one here is chambered in 6.5 by 55 Swede, which if you look here, you got your regular 308 Winchester, and you got the Swede. Now case diameter, the case dimensions are pretty much the same, they're close. The neck's a little longer, but man, look at that bullet there. It's pretty much, it comes out to about a 25 caliber bullet, but it is long. Real long and narrow. That means it's got a really good ballistic coefficient. I have read that these actually have a better long-range ballistics than 300 Win Mag. And that's because with how narrow they are, they're more ballistically efficient, so they retain more of their energy at longer ranges as opposed to the shorter, fatter 30 calibers. And another thing is you can get these 6.5 bullets in a variety of weights, all the way down to real light rounds for varmint, all the way up to the same weight. Pretty much any weight you can get a 308 ball in, you can get the 6.5 in. So there's a lot of variety there when it comes to reloading. Now, I haven't had this gun specifically at the range yet to really check its accuracy, but I have shot it more or less, just kind of checking it, just checking to make sure it shoots well, because I had never fired the gun until I put it in the stock. And when we went rabbit hunting last week, I took it with us just to go ahead and shoot it and check it out, and it does shoot very well. These rifles are known to have, especially in the 6.5, are known to have very light recoil. And I will say, yes, it does have light recoil, but a soft buttstock would be in order. This hard plastic one that came with the stock is good and all. It fit nice once I got it shaped to the stock, but it's hard plastic and it did bruise my shoulder just a little bit. I haven't really fired much this year throughout the summer, so I'm probably going to add a soft butt pad to it, but besides that, it did shoot very well. If you're thinking about getting one of these sporter stocks, I would recommend, if you don't already have it, getting a Dremel kit of some kind. You are going to have to do some modifications. I had to cut this whole section out here for the bolt release. I had to shape the whole stock for the barrel, and I still got to do some work on that. I had to shape the stock for this Williams sight, and I had to shape the stock both depth-wise and width-wise for the magwell to fit in, and I still got to do some work on that. And then another place I still have to do some work is right here on the back where the bolt sits. This back lip of the bolt actually contacts the stock, and that's why it's a little hard for me to pull it out at the moment. So, first impressions on the gun. Well, my first impressions when I got it were, well, the barrel action was in good shape, but that was really about it. It had no stock. I do have to say also, the stock was only $78, which is pretty cheap. And I got this about a week. Burnells got it out pretty fast. And it does feel nice. And the cool thing about having a stock that comes to you unfinished is you can go any which way you want for it as far as the finish goes. It's fair. Sometimes you get a gun and it's got a really nice finish on it, and you just do not want to change it because it's nice and that's part of the character of the gun when you first got it. And I have two guns that are like that, and that's my Mossberg 12 gauge bolt action goose gun. It just has a stock on it the way the finish is. I just wouldn't want to change it. The other one is my 1907 American Gun Company double barrel 12 gauge shotgun. The stock is in terrible condition as far as the finish, but that is just part of the character of it. So, but the cool thing about having that stock is you can do it whichever way you want. It's yours. It's ready to go. I chose a red oak stain on it, and then I finished it out with True Oil to build it up and fill in the grain. And then I used a clear enamel-based engine enamel to do a hard kind of finish coat on the outside of it. All that, it takes about a week if you're doing the True Oil because of the layers you have to put on. You have to do a lot of coats, and then it dries out pretty good. But you can get some really beautiful finishes with that, and I will put some pictures of me finishing out and shaping the stock in the video here towards the end, so you can see kind of an idea of what you might have to do if you decide to get one of these sporter stocks. Sometimes you get some of these Mauser Mausers, and depending on where you order them from or what price range you order, the stocks aren't in good condition, and sometimes not worth saving. Or sometimes you're wanting something that has that sporter appearance to it. It's all personal preference. Oh, let's see. Is there anything else that I thought interesting about this? The trigger on this gun, it's not horrible, considering how old it is. I mean, this one's just at, let's see, 107 years old, I believe. If my math's correct. And the trigger's not bad for that. Now, they do make some aftermarket trigger for these. I believe Timney, whatever. I think they make some, and those are sold at Burnell's as well. I'm not sure with the barrel twist weight on these. I don't believe I remember looking that up. But they are known to be very accurate out to long ranges. And every year, there is an unknown number of elk and moose and caribou and deer taken by these Mauser rifles all over the world. They're extremely popular in Scandinavia for moose hunting, and you can still find them relatively cheap. I'm not sure on the current market. This one was free, of course, so I'm not sure what they are, but I do know you can still find them relatively cheap, especially from some Army surplus companies such as Aim Surplus or Classic Firearms and whatnot. They have them in stock usually, and it all depends on where they're from, as this also contributes to their price range. A lot of these were also rechambered in other calibers. I believe the most common is, of course, 308 Winchester is the most common, and I think I've seen them in 303 British once or twice, and I think maybe 30-06 also. But that's generally because ammo availability. Now, I do have to say for ammo, this 6.5 Swede is a little harder to find. It is more expensive. The ammunition that I bought is Winchester Super X, and as you can see, it was $37.92 for a box of 20, which isn't cheap by no means. It's not no 308 Winchester, but for a good, fun, straight shooting rifle that's got low recoil, it's great. If you're looking for kind of a starter rifle for, your son, your teen, or maybe your wife to get in, something with lower recoil, this is a good start. And generally they're cheap, so it's not too bad, big of a deal if something happens to it. Overall first impressions, it's a good gun. It's a good shooting gun. I'll be interested to take it to the range and see how accurate I can get it on iron sights with that peep sight. I think I might be using it next weekend. There's a possibility I might go out to a ranch and go do some hog hunting. And I think instead of, I think I'll take two guns. I think I'll take my 700 and this gun, and I'll walk and stalk with this gun, and then I'll sit in a blind with my 700. But I'll come back with a report on that if I end up going and using that gun, and I'll let you know how it works. And I'll also do a update once I get to the range report. Now, something that is good about these older surplus rifles, and this is actually, more or less a neat fact about them, is just the stamping. They stamp everything, everywhere. You got serial numbers on almost every part of the gun. This one is mostly numbers matching, except for the stock, of course, and this plate's the magwell. But that's just something that's always cool with these old Army surplus guns, that they stamp them everywhere, and that's just stun you don't get today. But it's a good gun. I'll have some more updates on it. If you have any questions about it, you can always comment below. I'll try to get the best answer for you I can. I'll post some links to where you can buy this gun from military surplus, and also where you can buy this stock and where you can buy this sight. Although the sight does have to be installed by a blacksmith, because you do have to drill and tap the thread holes for the screws. So that's one bad thing about that. But the original sights I heard for these guns are relatively nice to use. But they are mounted up here more like a scout rifle, or a kind of a traditional American sporting rifle. But I'll post those in there, and I'll get back with y'all again when I get some more range time and some hunt time with it. Let you know how it does. Always go down to the bottom, hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon so we show up in your newsfeed. Check us out on Patreon and our other social media sites and Instagram. And we'll be back with you next time for another Gun Off the Gun Wall.